Hi, my name is Jeremiah Core. My friends call me JB. I'm going today be talking about objectification and sexualization in video games and its effects for my milestone 3 project. Let's get into it. My topic is sexual objectification in video games and how sexualization specifically leads to objectification. Happens in video games, but occurs in many places throughout our lives. It occurs in all forms of media where sexual material or sexualized, specifically females, but it can be males too, occur. Whether it's movies or TV shows as well as music, sexualization happens all around us, occurs all throughout our lives. And because we see sexualization, according to a theory I'm about to talk about, it affects how we treat one another as human beings and affects how we treat ourselves as human beings and how we view one another. Sexualization in video games, my main point, leads to self objectification, especially in women. Um, and I'll break this down more on these next few slides exactly what that means. The two theories I'm using to argue this point is that our objectification theory and cultivation theory. Objectification theory is the worth and value of a person um, is tied and determined to their use to another person. Specifically, this is kind of more used in a sexual and physical standpoint, where maybe what body features you have or what you can perform sexually or even non-sexually is how your use to another person. That's how valuable you are. Cultivation theory is the idea that repeated exposure to a certain idea in media influences our thoughts about it in real life. So if you see something a lot in media or you see something a lot playing a video game or in listening to music, you're going to start believing that yourself. Sexual objectification content happens in games all the time. There are few ways to measure this objectification. There are few ways that it happens. The first two obvious ones are body type and size, whether it's specific sexual organs or it's exactly the size of a person or what they may look like in a game, and as well as their role is another thing, whether they might be there only for eye candy or if they're there maybe as a sidekick, not exactly a main character. That is another version of objectification games. And then the last kind is their clothing coverage. For example, in a lot of video games, uh, armor for females is, even though armor is something that's supposed to protect you, it is something that is a lot more revealing and shows a lot more of sexual organs. Um, Mills demonstrated that in a study of avatars that people create, that their body type and size, as well as role and clothing coverage, are their measures they use for objectification. Sexualization in games comes from characters coded into the game as well as avatar creation and selection. So non-player characters may be sexualized as well as avatars that are created by the gamers can be sexualized as well. And sexualization of characters has actually come down over time when it reached its peak in 1996 through 2006, what I imagine around the Sims era when avatar creation was a big deal with Second Life and the Sims and games, computer games like that. There are many effects of playing sexualized games. According to cultivation theory, this is increased objectification of those around you. So if you see sexualized character in a game or sexualized woman in a game, and you're repeatedly exposing, you're repeatedly playing that game, you're gonna start to believe that about the women in your life. Another study done by Van den Bosch shows that adolescents who played with sexualized characters were found to have higher degrees of self-objectification than those who did not. Self-objectification is another way of saying that you view yourself only for your physical appearances. Pretty dangerous thing. Another study showed that anyone who is exposed to sexualized avatar in a game is more likely to face a higher degree of self-objectification than those who did not. So if she is playing a game, or even just watching the game, she's found to faces higher degree of self-objectification. Self-objectification can lead to a few different things. Self-objectification lead to body dysmorphia, unhealthy expectations of your own body, which of course can lead to more dangerous things such as mental health issues, eating disorders, things like that. In conclusion, sexualization is dangerous. Because sexualization leads to objectification, whether of the self or of others, is a dangerous thing that should be slowly eliminated from games. Why everyone should care. According to the ESA, more than 90% of kids play video games. They estimated also that it could be up to 99% of boys and 94% of girls are playing video games, which is a large amount that could be exposed to these things. The average young person will spend more than 10,000 hours in their life playing video games before they are 21 years old. That is a lot of time where they could be exposed to sexualized characters and avatars. Very dangerous over time. Something that is very young and getting exposed to this at an early age. And young people across the country are playing these games and are being exposed to sexualization right now. Whether it's in a game like Grand Theft Auto, where there's very highly sexualized material all throughout the game, or even if it's a game like Destiny, where it's just small amounts of sexualization. You can tell that women in the game are different than men. It's just dangerous that's in there for these kids. Then why those who game should care? Sexualization clearly distorts the perceptions of yourself and of others. As proven in that one study, no matter the age, no matter the gender, people are losing perceptions of their own bodies because of what they're seeing in video games. It sets unrealistic expectations on what we should look like and how we should behave. It appears in a large amount of games. They aren't just like the M-rated games like Grand Theft Auto as well. On the next slide, I'll talk about some of the more games it's focused in. And then the thing that gamers can do to counteract this, one small thing they can do is create avatars that are not sexualized. It's really easy when you're creating an avatar, whether male or female, to make them have a very strong sexual physical appearance if they're a man, or have a very small sexualized appearance if they're a female, whether it's clothing coverage or body size or type like we talked about earlier. Eliminating that from your gaming habits can do a long way for your sexualization objectification in games. Developers need to recognize the influence they have. I think developers are the main villain in this, those who in the gaming industry. They need to remove sexualized characters from games that do not need them to be there. For example, the example I use is the NBA 2K series. As you can see, the cheerleaders are below. There are a lot of sequences with timeouts where this happens. NBA 2K is rated E for everyone. And when you're repeatedly exposed like that, it is definitely tough to be rated E for everyone. I think developers should also create more neutral female characters that are not sexualized. These are the effects, and they know the effects of sexualization, yet they continue to put in characters that are female and that are very sexualized. You need to have more of a standard, like a neutral line, kind of make everybody the same sort of thing. Thank you. This last image is a leak from the upcoming game Cyberpunk. This avatar selection screen is crazy how detailed you can get, especially in the sexual orients places. I just encourage you guys to not choose the sexual route and instead remember that people are people. Even if they're in a video game, it'll lead you to believe things about people around you. Thank you.